And a very warm welcome back to your latest industry recap. There's some developments regarding order cancellations, Aer Lingus preparing for a brand new aircraft type, and a company that is being officially liquidated. Let's begin with order cancellations. Virgin Atlantic continues to reshuffle its fleet with Airbus's latest orders and deliveries being released, revealing to us that the UK-based airline has cancelled units. The Airbus data that I speak of shows Virgin Atlantic will take on 2 fewer A350-1000s as part of the latest revision to total orders that occurred in July. Order cancellations come as the airline continues to restructure its network and focus on streamlining to become more profitable. The major UK-based company has recently been looking to overhaul its fleet, something very much noticeable if comparing its aircraft flown in 2015 to now, and that has included removing aging quad-engine fleet types. At the 2024 Farnborough Air Show, you may recall that the airline ordered further A330neos in a deal that would cement that aircraft type's place as being the largest within the fleet by the time all units are delivered. Now, as a response to that fantastic deal, the airline is reducing its overall commitment to the much larger A350-1000, which we know to be already operational. Virgin Atlantic took the high-capacity A350-1000 on to fly not just more efficiently to key markets, but do so in a manner where it could have a higher capacity over other available aircraft. The thing is, unfortunately, during this fleet overhaul process that I speak of, not just beloved aircraft were retired from their operation, but the airline coincidentally retired all high-capacity planes that don't really have the perfect like-for-like replacement available. It's because these planes that were shipped off are no longer considered favourable. On top of a decision to move away from 2 A350-1000 units, we also received that fleet update that came at the end of July. And to refresh your memory, while it didn't make note of the cancellations, the release did make it clear that their fleet of operational A350-1000s would not grow between now and the first quarter of 2028. As for the popular 787 Dreamliner, well, there were some murmurings that maybe this would be a type on the way out, thanks to more commitments to the A330neo, but this plane will remain in the company's fleet longer than some may have expected, with flying towards markets such as India, North America, the Caribbean, and even new routes all expected to continue. However, by the first quarter of 2028, the fleet of 787s will reduce to 14 units, down from the currently active 17, and probably one of the most expected resolutions in terms of fleet is the A330neos will replace the A330ceos, with the latter to begin being phased out in the coming 2 months. Over to the next story, and staying within this region, Aer Lingus is reigniting preparations to take on that next generation A321XLR from Airbus. Remember, this comes after it ceded its launch customer slot to fellow IAG member Iberia. A new labour agreement that was signed with its pilots last month is set to play a pivotal role in finally allowing Aer Lingus to take on the new aircraft. Aer Lingus had long been slated to be the launch customer of this upcoming narrow-body, a fantastic title to have for what is being deemed as such a game-changing aircraft. However, as the A321XLR's certification progressed and preparations obviously then began to ramp up for a first delivery, it became apparent that internal concerns were centered around Aer Lingus and their ability to take the plane on. International Airlines Group, IAG, home to Aer Lingus and British Airways among others, openly stated its belief that internally at Aer Lingus there were concerns about the company's structure regarding cost. As a result, they didn't feel comfortable moving forward and seeing the first delivery of a new plane to the Irish-based company. However, because IAG has that delivery slot and a wide array of airlines that call this group home, they were able to rejig the delivery and give the rights to Iberia. Rectifying contracts with pilots is very important. It's going to provide a clearer pathway to operating this new type in the future. By adjusting the contract and bringing a pay rise with it, Aer Lingus pilots will be able to be better utilized in the future, and this to be especially noted across the Atlantic on the upcoming A321XLR, a type of flight path that many believe the XLR will thrive on in the future. Before the contract had been rectified, the concerns were the stability regarding this and the risks of taking on such a crucial plane for the future and basically not being able to utilize it in an optimal manner. Once delivered, the A321XLR will be hugely important for Ireland's flag carrier in launching into new markets while also boosting capacity into existing ones. Furthermore, the aircraft is going to ease pressure on existing units in service. Airbus has long regarded the A321XLR as the ideal solution for closing the gap between a narrow and wide-body plane, this being thanks to its capabilities, focusing in on the range especially, which now makes single-aisle flights that were not previously possible now able to occur. And after receiving certification in July, the A321XLR will enter service in the coming months. Certainly an exciting time. And in some not so exciting news, but potentially developments that I think many were expecting, Go First, a troubled former Indian company, has had any hopes remaining that it would be able to relaunch, scrapped as creditors have voted unanimously to liquidate the company. Despite several attempts to find a buyer that was optimally positioned to take over and breathe fresh new life into Go First, which has been grounded for some time, this hasn't eventuated. The committee of creditors deemed all apparent bidders who attempted to bring a resolution to be below the required level of expectations. During the year-long period, there were some bids for the defunct carrier. However, as the COC touched on each occasion, that deal couldn't get over the line because of concerns about the deal and prospective terms. While time was reportedly given to improve the bid, the overall improvement was not visible enough to give these lenders a reason to approve a takeover. Ultimately, the full closing down now and therefore liquidation of Go First comes after many different complications. It is still a very big ongoing legal process that stems really from the voluntary bankruptcy filing that occurred in mid-2023. That very collapse was spurred on by an incredibly difficult position the company was in, which included many ongoing disputes between not just creditors but interestingly leasing companies as well. At its core, Go First aimed to be a low-cost Indian airline with bases in several major cities nationwide. Commencing operations in 2005, they utilized the A320 family to their advantage. But as the Indian market saw demand rise, the continued growth of other emerging airlines gave Go First a pretty great run for its money, and it meant obtaining additional market share was more challenging than maybe in the past. By 2023, the airline was one of the many that was stating that the Pratt & Whitney engine saga was impacting its ability to fly, while Go First would go on to sue the engine provider in a story that is so different to other airlines. Pratt & Whitney actually very much disputed these claims, and Go First spiraled out of control into a grounded state and is now destined for liquidation. If you have any thoughts on today's stories, best place to drop them is down below in the comments. Thank you very much for tuning into this video. It really does mean a lot. Take care, be safe, and I'll see you tomorrow for your latest industry recap.
And we'll fly.